NBA Finals. He's supposed to have a statue. Hell yeah. He's supposed to have a statue.
Hello and welcome to Sports Talk in the Burgh, rated the #1 show to come out of the RMU-TV Studio on Wednesday afternoons. I'm your host, Brett Magulik, and we have a jam-packed show today. Joining me now is the J&J Connection. To my left, it is Josh Woodman, and to my right is Jesse McCullough. So thank you guys for joining me today, and let's get into the discussion. Now, traditionally, we will be focused on the world of the NFL for today's show. But the NBA decided to take a page out of Jello's book and swerve us. The LA Lakers and Dallas Mavericks have agreed to a blockbuster deal involving superstar Luka Doncic, heading from the Lone Star State to the Sunshine State. The trade consisted of Luka and some change to the Lakers in exchange for Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first-round pick in the 2029 NBA draft. With the star power of Luka and arguably a low package for him, does this change the value of NBA players in the future? Jess, why don't you start for us?
Brett, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It doesn't. Everyone is talking about superstars magically having no strings attached, as if anyone is up for grabs at any given time. This is an anomaly. This is not the new standard. This cannot be the new standard. I think every other GM in the NBA knows that when you have a star player, you build around that player for as long as you can. You give them as much money as you can, and you continue to try to hone their success forward to get a championship, to make finals appearances. And for all intents and purposes, that's what the Mavericks did. 2 Western Conference Finals appearances, 1 Finals appearance. Luka was the Western Conference Finals MVP last year, and they gave him up because they wanted better defense. And not every team is going to think like that. And every team is going to look at the star players that they have and go, I think this player's pretty good. I think we should build around this guy and not ship him away to the team that's begging for stars who is going to do what they want.
I don't disagree with that, Jess, but I do think overall it could serve as a type of empowerment move for GMs, especially GMs who might have a philosophy they really want to buy in on. I look at teams like Ja Morant on the Grizzlies, and I look at Anthony Davis and players like that. Or not Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards. But I look at players like that, and if the teams can't start finding ways to get back to a conference semifinals or something like that, or get to a championship, the GMs might get greedy and they might start trying to ship around players. I don't think it's going to be on the scale of Luka, and even a player like Anthony Edwards and Ja is going to be hard done by to get traded. But I do think overall GMs could maybe start leaning more into this idea of, F it, we're going to blow it all up and just start again.
See, I completely understand what you're talking about, because you see it all the time where players will age to a point where they no longer have the power, and GMs should have traded that player years ago. We're seeing it right now in the Penguins case with Sidney Crosby. Sorry.
It's okay.
But not every GM is going to panic and say, oh, we can't make the Western Conference Finals. That means my best player is actually bad. It means he's out of shape. There are a few instances where I would say, yeah, something like that may happen. I think the best example of that would be Zion. Zion and his health issues, I can understand if the Pelicans want to move away from him. But when you're talking about a top 3 player in the league, 5 first-team All-NBA appearances, and you say, I don't want that. I would like Anthony Davis, who has been, he's had 2 healthy seasons in the last 2 years, but he is not, by far, not equal to Luka Doncic.
I agree. I personally hope that this isn't this is a one-time deal. Because this could completely just change the story of the NBA overall if players are being traded
Tossed
just like
around.
This and that. And the other thing that we could think about here is that how much of Anthony Davis's success was from LeBron.
That's something to think about.
That's something we could think about here. But yeah, so keeping that in mind, so it's clear that the Mavs lost their guy. They're 35 minutes a game. They're 35% behind the arc guy. Can Anthony Davis fill this role? Is there any chance of saving the Mavs? Josh, I'll let you start on this one.
I don't think overall, no. there is no saving grace for it. There's a light at the end of the tunnel because, yes, they're going to have a system that they can play in, and it's going to be a competent, all-in kind of move like Jess, I think we'll talk about in a second. But I do think overall, you're not going to get rid of your main guy. You're not going to dish away your 25-year-old maverick for life, your next Dirk. You're not going to do that just for nothing. And they didn't really get back nothing. They are going to have to heavily rely on a 32-year-old Kyrie Irving, a 31-year-old Anthony Davis, PJ Washington, guys like that, Clay. These are all guys who I think we can all safely say are past their prime. And while they aren't bad players, I don't know if any of them are competent enough or ready to carry a franchise on their back by themselves.
I do kind of agree with you with the fact that this is an all-in push. It's just the weirdest all-in push of all time. Usually your all-in push is take your second best guy and ship him away. This time they took their best guy and they're relying on 2 second best guys to get it done. And there are some bright spots. Like in the last game that the Mavericks played against the Sixers, Max Christie wasn't a bad pickup for the Mavericks. They do have a really solid depth of wing players in their rotation. Najee Marshall, PJ Washington, like we saw in the starting lineup. Klay Thompson, take him or leave him. He's a little bit old. Obviously the injuries haven't helped him out. And then you have a competent front court. Anthony Davis, Daniel Gafford, and obviously Derek Lively is now injured. But that's incredible rim protection. That's incredible athleticism. If Anthony Davis starts to play the 4 and is able to actually shoot the ball somewhat well, and by that I mean like over 35%, then maybe this team can actually put something together. But I mean, all things considered, like, their window is incredibly short now. They need to win this championship this year or the next year. And otherwise, they're going to look like absolute fools for the move they just made.
And especially with Kyrie on a contract year, I think next year, you're going to have to do something.
He has a player option this year.
Yeah, you're going to have to do something quick because, like you said, they're all aging and they're all not that great. And also, and other than Kyrie, what does Anthony Davis have in the playoffs, really, other than the bubble run? What does Klay Thompson? I mean, he won all those championships, but I mean, it could be argued that it was Curry, it was Draymond, it was Wiggins, like stuff
Klay
like
wasn't
players
the
like
main
that.
person in that.
So relying on them to make up for Luka's points and shooting and that, and especially when they all kind of have shoddy records in the playoffs themselves, I don't know if you can trust them to do that.
See, you say that, but you also have a Houston Rockets team that is fueled on their defensive end of the ball, who doesn't really have a star player. They're seeing massive success right now. I believe they're either in the 2 or 3 seed. This formula does work. Will it work for the Mavericks? I don't know.
But can it work in 7 games also?
That's true.
That's what we're going to find out later this season and see how the West shapes up. Now, we've seen these type of trades before. Teams trading away their star guys, possibly for a tank, maybe looking for a high draft pick. But with one like this, is this the biggest self-inflicted wound in modern sports history? What do you guys think about this? Jess, start.
See, saying it's probably the most knowledgeable self-inflicted wound. I think there are other self-inflicted wounds that you could look at in sports history. Like I think the most obvious example is like draft day stuff. You, with the first overall pick, you pick Greg Oden because he looks really good coming out of Ohio State. Yeah, Kevin Durant looked great in Texas, but you want a big man. You don't want one of the 10 best players in NBA history to some people's opinion. That's something that you can't really see in the moment. This is something that is incredibly tangible. You have Luka Doncic right there. You see you see him for what he is, the player that he is, and then you decide to give it up. I think that's the biggest mistake that the Mavericks made.
I think to say it is in the most in sports history is pretty accurate and maybe a little extreme in some cases. I find issue with teams like the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield, getting rid of him and bringing in Deshaun Watson, who hadn't played for a year, was under extreme scrutiny from everyone else around the league, and rightly so. And then he comes in, and we've obviously seen what happened with him not doing anything. The Browns haven't been to the playoffs and so on. So I think when you use the word knowledgeably, that is a great way to put it because, yes, the Browns didn't know exactly what they were going to get in Deshaun Watson. You know what you're going to get from Anthony Davis. You know what you're giving up in Luka.
Another thing I wrote down was something about doubt. There was a lot of doubt in some of these big moves. Think DeRozan to the Spurs for Kawhi. Kawhi hadn't played in a year. He was injured. He wasn't the same player in a lot of people's eyes, and so his trade value went down. Luka was injured this year. He wasn't having his most productive year, but I mean, he's still Luka Doncic. He was the #1 favorite for MVP this year. Like, I don't think there's a player of that caliber, even like someone like Baker Mayfield, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFC right now. He's not Luka Doncic level. He's not top 3 in the league level quarterback. That's the type of thing that they just gave up.
I mean, I agree with that, but I like what Josh was saying about the Browns. I mean, they pretty much got nothing for what they paid for. I think that the Mavericks can at least do a little bit of
And
what,
I think
what
that's
they
a
got
part
in
of
the
the
trade.
the criticism around this more is you look at a team like the Brooklyn Nets, who when they got rid of KD, they got Mikal Bridges, a bunch of first-round picks that they also flipped to the Knicks for more guys and more picks. Like the Mavs definitely know they could have gotten more. I think they sold really early, but overall, yeah, they knew what they were losing out on.
Alrighty, well, we're going to take a little break here, but when we come back, we continue the discussion, so don't go away.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Today I'm going to talk to you about physics. Come on in, girls. Let's go. This is the first rocket to get humans to Mars. Really tall. I'm a rocket structural engineer, designing and building parts of the rocket. You are the generation that will be stepping foot on Mars. Do I have a group of astronauts on my hands? Yes. You can become a rocket scientist or whatever else you want to be.
Is going to pass it off to that's 21. That's Adamo and.
Hey, be good. Keep your head up. Let's get this.
So take a look at this goal here. Nick Berkusik sneaks it over the shoulder of Logan Drackett to win it in overtime, and the Colonials snap the losing streak, and they'll head on to Holy Cross with a victory.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. This huge trade has taken the sports world by storm, so let's continue the discussion. Doncic came out saying during his press conference after the trade that he expected to stay his whole career with the Mavericks, and he, quote, does not know why the team made this decision to move on from him. This trade has swept the nation, and the idea of seeing Luka in anything but a Mavericks uniform to some fans is unreal. With such an untouchable player shockingly being moved, does this term even exist anymore? Are there any more untouchable players in the American sports right now? Josh, you start.
I think the word untouchable is a very broad statement overall. I do think that there are some guys that come to mind. A lot of my guys, I think personally, along the lines are kind of the obvious ones. I'm thinking Patrick Mahomes is one who is definitely untouchable. I'm thinking Josh Allen and Connor McDavid also fill that hole. Those are just guys that are two quarterbacks right there. Quarterback's the most important position in sports, arguably. And so naturally, when you lose those two guys, when you're talking about Mahomes, who's about to probably go in and could arguably win his third straight championship, something that's never been done before, you're not going to give him away for anything, like literally anything. Tom Brady can come back, and the Chiefs still wouldn't pass that up. Connor McDavid falls into that category as well. Connor McDavid has been the leading point scorer in the NHL for over the past couple of years for his team. Why are you going to give that away for nothing? And same with Josh Allen. And even, we talked earlier about this, the packages. Even if you are going to not give them away for little, what are you going to give them that's going to make up for that loss? And so, honestly, my opinion, I think those guys are the ones who aren't going to be leaving their team anytime soon.
See, I completely understand the two people that you mentioned, Patrick Mahomes and Connor McDavid. I think those guys are indeed untouchable. Like, obviously best players in the league, so integral to team success that it's sort of like unfair to an extent. But Josh Allen is the one I have a little bit of trouble with, and it's simply because if things continue, sort of like what we were talking about last block, if things continue, Josh Allen may say, I don't know about this place anymore, or the Bills may say, I don't know about him anymore. Well, and so whether he is the only, as untouchable as Mahomes, I sort of disagree. I think there's a little bit more divide
But
there.
what does that even mean? Because if a guy forces his way out, that's completely different. If we're talking a guy who expects to be a Bill for life, a Maverick for life, a Chief for life, if they're not going anywhere, then I think the teams are going to view him as untouchable. If Josh Allen requests a trade, he's literally putting himself out there. Myles Garrett, is another guy we consider pretty untouchable, but he is requesting his way out. That means he is very up for grabs and open for business elsewhere. So I think that argument is silly. Of course, Josh Allen could end up saying, I don't know if I'm going to ever win it here. Let me go to a super team. But if he's going to sit on that team and he literally thinks he's going to be a Bill for life and the team expects him to be a Bill for life, he's untouchable then. No one's going to be able to afford him.
Well, my untouchable players, sort of to piggyback off of yours, I have 3. I have Victor Wembanyama. I think that one is incredibly obvious. You watch him play, he plays like no other player in the league. #1 overall pick, favorite for DPOY, already made his first All-Star team. Like, I mean, the guy is incredible at basketball. And I have, for similar reasons, Shohei Ohtani. They both also tap into, I think, the financial side of the sports industry. Shohei Ohtani is making a massive splash for Japanese baseball fans. You have a bunch of people flying over to LA just to watch him play. And then obviously my last one, Nikola Jokic, you have a 3-time MVP. You're not going to send that guy away for anything. He is the ultimate floor raiser. Now, the people that I have up in the air, maybe a little bit controversial. First of all, I have Giannis, and for similar reasons that I think Josh Allen may get his way out. The Bucks just made another trade for Kyle Kuzma. They're trying another chip to push all in towards a championship, and Kyle Kuzma, compared to what he was traded for, who's to say? And they're still not the top 3 favorites in the East. You have the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers who are leading the way. And then the other guy I have is TJ Watt, for the simple fact that if things continue, the Pittsburgh Steelers may have to say, we're going to cut our losses. We think that we have more talent along the defensive line in our linebacking core, that we're going to be able to work in our defensive system without TJ Watt. And I think if they get rid of him, which they very well might, I mean, he's on a contract here, if I'm not mistaken, like, he is going to go somewhere and he is going to be a home wrecker. He is going to wreck everybody on the field.
He is. And on top of that, he's going to be one of the most affordable players in terms of being able to get a good price back for the Steelers. I completely agree with that.
That last one hurts a little bit. I'm not going to lie. As a passionate Steelers fan as myself, but I mean, I have to agree with you guys. I mean, it's very possible that kind of like the Lucas situation here, where they're not winning and they're not proceeding past the first round of the playoffs, that they try to get a big package for a player like that.
Yeah, Myles Garrett got a playoff win before TJ Watt, and he requested a trade not a few days ago. And Josh, to go back to your graphic for a little bit, the players that you had as up in the air, as players that were on the market, Aaron Judge? Who's good? Like, who would take him?
What have we been saying about guys like Josh Allen, about guys who aren't winning the big games, right? Aaron Judge is a guy who's going to be scoring a lot of home runs every year. He's going to be hitting out of the park consistently for a long time. And I think that a team on the Yankees, yes, he's going to be making a lot of money. But if you could go to the Dodgers, why would you not go to the Dodgers and be there?
See, the thing
also,
is,
on top of that, I'm just going to, real quick, Caleb Williams on there. Let me just explain myself real quick. Caleb Williams.
I understand.
I was just about to ask about Caleb Williams.
He's a young rookie, yes. He has the potential of a Mahomes, of a Brady. Everyone, undoubtedly so. I think everyone can agree on that.
I mean, has a Bears quarterback lasted past their rookie contract?
Exactly,
no,
Jess, exactly. And that's what my excuse is for Caleb Williams on that screen. Caleb Williams is a guy who needs a really good coach. Ben Johnson could be that guy. If Ben Johnson isn't that guy, or say Ryan Poles, they don't find success in recent times when Ryan Poles is forced out. New GMs, new coaches, they like their own kind of guys. And Caleb Williams is not a Jared Goff pocket passer guy. Caleb Williams is very much get out of the pocket, find a play, make a play. Ben Johnson could use that to his ability. We haven't seen it in Detroit, but he can get creative. So I'm just saying Caleb Williams is not a guy who we should expect to be seeing leaving anytime soon. But like you said, what is the record of Bears quarterbacks leaving after their rookie contract?
Well, there's a lot of future to look onto, and I'm excited to read it all. But that is going to do it for our NBA coverage from today's episode. Thank you, Jess and Josh, for joining me today. But coming up after the break, it's Super Bowl week, baby. So stay tuned. We're going to head at that soon.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
To get to know each other.
On a deeper level. Father.
Cosplayer.
Mentor.
Actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together.
And discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
Yeah! Sam, Elmo! Oh, hey, Julia. Are you ready to play band with us? I'm gonna play my clarinet.
And Elmo's gonna play his drum.
Drum loud. Oh, well, you know what to do, Julia.
Julia knows.
With Julia's autism, loud sounds can be too much.
But she still loves to make music.
Play band!
Early screening for autism can make a lifetime of difference. Find out more at screenforautism.org.
If you love them enough to crawl into a play place to get them to come down, then surely you'll check nhtsa.gov/the right seat to make sure they're in the right car seat.
Can I get the now bar, please? $1. Have a good one. Got it.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey.
Let me get a now bar.
Sure. $1.
Appreciate you.
Got it.
Welcome back to Sports Talk in the Burgh. Joining me now to talk some pigskin, Jordan Warwick and Finn Lyons. Let's get into some ball discussion. Now it's time for our regularly scheduled programming. Don't worry, we're finally here. Unfortunately, it is that time of the year, however, so make sure you grab your tissues because the NFL season is officially coming to an end. Super Bowl 59 will be taking place this Sunday, and the Chiefs and Eagles will be dancing together once again. So flat out, who's winning this thing? Jordan, what do you think?
You know, now at first I thought, it's they're gonna three-peat. It's gonna be back to back to back. It's gonna be the Chiefs. It's gonna be Mahomes. But as I was researching more into this, I am going with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the Eagles this year, the best defense in the league. They had a top run defense in the league, but they had a top 5 worst pass defense, and that is where the troubles for them they're really evident. But over the season, they had a lot of injuries. They had A.J. Brown miss several games. They had Devonta Smith miss several games. They had Jalen Hurts at the end of the season miss games with a concussion. I think now with this offense fully healthy, going into the Super Bowl, they've been heating up at the right time. I think the Eagles got it.
Obviously, by this graphic here, you can see that I agree with you here, Jordan, but Finn, you got a little bit of a different take here.
Yeah.
What do you got to say about this?
Yeah, look, I think the Eagles are a good team. Obviously, they wouldn't be here otherwise. But, they have a good defense. But the passing, like you said, is sort of a problem. And the Chiefs, that's kind of their whole thing, is their passing attack. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. However, he did have a down year this year for his standards. He had only under 4,000 passing yards. And his defense is really what's carrying him. And I think that's going to help the Chiefs there because, Hurts isn't that prolific of a passer this season. He had under 3,000 yards, only 18 touchdowns, but the Eagles do have Barkley. But I think the Chiefs can stop him. They showed, and I'm not saying that the Bills' running attack is as good as the Eagles, but they did stop the Bills' running attack, who was an elevated team this year in the rush. So I think if they can just do that again, limit Hurts, they'll be fine, and they have the luck on their side.
I just think that Saquon Barkley, it just feels like he wants it more than anyone this year. He didn't care about winning any of the previous playoff games. He wants a Super Bowl. I think he's going to have a monster performance. I think he's going to be Super Bowl MVP.
That man is a cheat code in itself, and I think it's going to be very interesting to watch to see how everything plays out this Sunday. But sticking with the Chiefs here, to quote honorary Chiefs captain Taylor Swift, I think I've seen this film before, and that is regarding their quest for the three-peat. After the Patriots' fallout, it did not take long for the AFC to find their new super team. But the question is, are the Chiefs a rerun of the Patriots, or is this a completely different dynasty? Finn, what do you think about this?
There's a lot of similarities, but something that was pointed out to me earlier was that there is a gap in between the two dynasties of the Patriots, basically. I mean, you had the early years, and then you had the later years in the 2010s. But these teams are built basically the same. The best quarterback in their generation. They have an amazing rushing attack, an amazing defense. They have 2 Hall of Fame coaches and probably the best best tight ends ever to play. I don't see many differences, but the one difference is you can't overlook is the scandals that the Patriots had. I mean, so far the Chiefs haven't had any scandals. Sure, they get the ref calls, but so do the Patriots. And getting calls isn't something they can technically control. I mean, that's really the two differences is the scandals that the Patriots had, but they're both very similarly built teams overall.
I think that the main difference in between both of these two dynasties is when they were really dominant. I noticed earlier that the Chiefs, especially in earlier part of their dynasty, like 2018, 2019, they were super, super dominant in terms of offense and in terms of scoring points, while in the last two years they have kind of tapered off and become a middle of the pack offense while relying more on their defense and kind of building a more full team. While in the Patriots in the early part of their dynasty, they were playing more close games and their offensive numbers were not good. While in the later part of their dynasty, they were dominating teams a lot more. So I just think that the dominating fact has flipped. One of the teams is dominated more at the beginning of the dynasty, while the other was dominated more at the end of their dynasty.
And I mean, look, the Chiefs are doing something the Patriots never did. They have a chance to three-peat. They're in the Super Bowl. They have the chance, and that's something that the Pats never had. So that's another difference, that they're more consistently reaching that pinnacle of the Super Bowl.
I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see. I mean, I think this three-peat is going to, if they do end up three-peating, I think that's going to be huge to determine whether these teams are the same or not. But it could, I mean, in my opinion, they're kind of creeping up there over the Patriots. But again, this Sunday is going to tell a lot of stories. So our last question of the day, but unfortunately this one is going to be a sad one, especially for some Bills fans. Sorry, Finn. It's clear that the Bills have their guy, their franchise QB in Josh Allen. Their hero, some would say. But every Superman has their kryptonite. And for Josh Allen, that's the Super Bowl. The Bills have not been able to get over the AFC Championship since Josh Allen has been wearing that green dot, while putting up MVP numbers in the process. Seems like another film we've seen before. Is Josh Allen destined to be the next Dan Marino? Jordan, what do you think about this?
I don't think so. I believe in the Bills. I believe that one day that Josh Allen will bring a Super Bowl back to Buffalo. I just think that there needs to be some type of change. They tried over and over again, but they just can't get over the hump of the big bad Chiefs. Maybe it's a coaching change. Maybe they have to fire Sean McDermott. Maybe it's a front office change to get them some different personnel. But something has to change fundamentally, because they've proven year after year that they are not good enough to beat the Chiefs, but they're good enough to beat everybody else. So I think that they just need a major change to get over that hump, but I do believe that they will eventually get over that hump.
And well, they are good enough to beat the Chiefs in the regular season. That's the problem. There's something about the playoffs that they can't do it. They've hosted the Chiefs, they can't beat them. They can't beat them at Arrowhead. And you know, they're almost exactly the same QB, and I have to be a realist as a Buffalo fan. Marino and Allen are on the same career trajectory. They're top 5 quarterbacks of their era. They can't get past the divisional round consistently. Yes, Marino did get to the Super Bowl. He lost. Josh Allen hasn't done that yet, but he's on the same pace. And they both have a lot of touchdowns to a lot of interceptions. It's kind of scary how close they are. And I agree. I think they need a change. I think McDermott is never going to win a Super Bowl. When's the last time a defensive head coach wins a Super Bowl? It doesn't happen. And constantly, year after year, our defense craps the bed against the Chiefs. They play fine in the divisional round, they play fine in the wild card, and they play the Chiefs and they can't do it.
I do want to bring up one question we had previously in the B block. What are your thoughts on the take that Josh Allen is untouchable with the Bills? Do you think you see him going anywhere else, or is he a Bill for life?
I think that Josh Allen is untouchable, but I saw a Bills fan post on Twitter that at some point when he's like 33, 34, and that sort of age, at what point do you just say, you cut your losses, you say, well, we haven't won one, we got to start over. He's getting up there in age. Not now, obviously not now. I'm not that crazy. But at some point, I could see him leaving. I don't think he wants to, and I don't think the city wants to see him leave, obviously. But at some point, you have to cut your losses.
You know, in previous times, I would say that Josh Allen would be untouchable, but the Luka trade showed us that no one, no matter how big of a star you are, is untouchable. All it takes is just a psycho GM getting in there and deciding to trade your best player, your franchise player, for a bag of chips. All right, so there's no way that he should be traded. Josh Allen is the second best quarterback in the league, and he's proved it time after time again. But if there's a team offering you a young quarterback and a couple first-round picks, I can see maybe in 2 years Buffalo getting real, questioning that and maybe deciding that, hey, we're not getting it done with this guy, and maybe it's time to look forward to a younger option and get more assets to build our future.
What kind of package would you consider for a Josh Allen, would you say?
It would have to be at least a few first-round picks and a roster player, I'd assume. You would probably want to draft one unless there's a really good rookie quarterback on the market.
I agree. Personally, I still do have faith in Josh Allen. I think he's an excellent player, and he's proven time after time, like Jordan was saying, that he steps up in the big moments. And he's played very well in these AFC Championship games or whenever they play the Chiefs, but he just can't seem to get over that hump. So hopefully they can do it soon. But thank you for joining us on today's show. Tune in next week for some more arguing, probably some slander of Patrick Mahomes, just maybe, and some white hot takes. We will see you soon.